is. Ooh, I love when that music plays, because it's time for NunSense. And of course, our weekly segment here called NunSense each and every Tuesday. But this morning, we are blessed to have Sister Marilyn Marie Ellerbrock with us. And Sister, I was blessed to be at Little Flower last night for yesterday evening's Mass for the Immaculate Conception. So what a beautiful Mass
so
and
I
gathering
heard.
that was. Yeah, it's good to see, good to be on the air with you
Yeah,
this morning.
and it's always good to have you join us here at Little Flower. So we've had plenty of opportunities to be here, it seems, so that's always a good thing. One of those that is one of my favorite is the Advent lessons and carols that we had on Sunday night. And just love the tradition because it always comes on the busiest weekend for us here, and it's a good time just to say, whoa, let's step back. What are we really doing all of this for? And reflect on the meaning of that. And for any of the listeners who might not be familiar with the tradition, Lessons and Carols is a series of scripture readings and reflective songs meant specifically for the season of Advent. But I was especially touched and struck this year that, we don't begin with the scripture reading about Christmas or even about the Annunciation. We go all the way back to creation and the story of Adam and Eve, and that has it just really has stayed with me the last couple of days because Christmas only makes sense as one part of the story of salvation. It's not just about Jesus being born, and it's this love that God has for us, that He creates us in the first place. He makes us these unique people that we are, meant to reflect and share His life and love with the world. And we know that before long, Adam and Eve and all of humanity, us ourselves included, yield to the temptation to turn away from that love. And we attempt mightily at times to make ourselves the center of our universe rather than God. And God, in His relentless love, keeps coming back and coming back and coming back and just attempting to lure us back to Himself and to reignite that love within us. And that's really the whole story of the Old Testament, God coming back and us turning away, and God coming back and us turning away. And finally, God comes in flesh and blood, comes to be one of us, kind of to live in our skin, to experience humanity, and in reality to save us from ourselves. And we all need that. And that's Christmas. And so it only makes sense if we know that backstory, if we know why He came. And so then we hear the scripture readings of Mary kind of speaking for all of us, welcoming Him into her heart, into her body, into every aspect of her life. And having Jesus living in us and among us changes everything. It makes all the difference in the world, and it has to touch every aspect of our lives. And then I'm reminded too that the story doesn't end there. God's love doesn't end, with the shepherds and the kings and this lovely scene at Christmas. And I think often of Francis Thompson's poem, The Hound of Heaven. He keeps coming. He keeps pursuing us because we keep turning away. And God knows in the end what it will take. It'll take more than just being one of us. It'll take the ultimate gift of His passion and death on the cross. And wow, can we ever find a more convincing statement of love than the gift of His very life for us? So, we just live in that ongoing mystery of Christmas. Christmas doesn't end on December 26th, as our culture often makes it appear, because God continues to come to love us, to draw us to Himself, and He'll continue to do that until our last breath when He takes us home again. So for me, that Advent lessons and carols just kind of puts the season in perspective and says, "Oh, look back, look at the beginning of the story and all the way through, and where it's taking us to." So we celebrate Christmas because it's an important part of the story, and that whole story is worth celebrating.
Yeah, I love it when you zoom out and really see the
Yeah.
bigger picture. And I think, I love that the church, in her wisdom, giving us this Advent season and the Christmas season, which begins on Christmas Eve night. We've got a lot to reflect on and a lot of reminders of what this all means for us and for salvation history.
Just kind of have to pay attention to all the little signs, and as you said, the gifts that the church gives us too. Church knows us well. I think the church knows us as a mother knows her kids. We need to be reminded again and again and again and again. And if we can even just pay attention to one reminder, we're that much closer to living the mystery and appreciating God's infinite love.
Mm-hmm. I love the connection back to the Old Testament, Sister, just because, look, we in our own lives, I could see the fingerprints of the Lord well before I ever said yes to him. And it gives me encouragement. Thank you, Sister.
Absolutely. Thank you, and blessings on the remainder of your Advent season.
Thank you so much, Sister Marilyn Marie Ellerbrock, Director of Faith Formation at Little Flower, and what a great way to celebrate Advent and really every day.